Hey everybody, welcome to Elder Geek's Elder Speak. Today is Thursday, January 9th, 2014. My name is Randy Asenchuk. I'm the editor of ElderGeek.com, and just as an addendum before I introduce the guest that I have onto the show today, I record these pretty late in the evening, and just so nobody thinks that I'm skipping a day, I think from now on I'm going to lie about what day I'm recording them on, and then just set these to post at midnight the following day. So I might just start saying that today is Friday, January 10th, because in reality most people aren't going to be seeing that until then. But anyway, tonight with me I have Gavin Green, who's a long friend of mine, editor of the news portion of ElderGeek.com and freelance journalist. Gavin, hey, how's it going, buddy?
It's going fine, you dirty liar. Coming in here
what
saying it's January 10th already? You know it's not January 10th.
Well, over here on the East Coast, I'm an hour and a half away, which means like if I finish this up and then actually manage to get some game time in and then mesh it all together, there's still a really slim chance that I could get it all together and online by midnight. And
I see.
The part of me that hates lying is like, no, but technically it actually still is, you know. So I need to stop doing that. Like every time I record this, I end up recording like at 8 p.m. or later. Mm-hmm. And so I need to give myself a little bit of wiggle room here. And that way people won't think that I'm missing a day, because I'm doing really well so far. I'm doing a video a day so far ever since I got back from MagFest, and I'm going to keep up this momentum. So I'm going to do this one tonight, and I'm going to do one tomorrow, and then I'm going to take a break for the weekend.
Yeah, I love seeing them up every day. It's awesome.
I like being able to do them. I'm regaining a little bit of freedom. But hey, before we go a little bit further, I want to say the game that people are going to be seeing in the background, because I've been reading a whole bunch of stuff today about Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. I'm tinkering around with the PC version of Castlevania Lords of Shadow, so you're going to be seeing me doing that. You might even be seeing me doing footage with the menus and everything like that, so it's going to be hot.
Fancy. Behind the
yeah,
scenes.
right. Gavin and I are gathering together because despite the fact that we did not do a superlative list for our favorite games and unfavorite games, we didn't decide that we were going to talk about unfavorite games tonight.
I don't think we did, but I think it's going to come naturally of the conversation, knowing you and me.
Yeah, it probably will. But tonight we're going to talk about our favorite games of 2013.
Hell yeah.
And probably our superlative games of 2013 and
our golden and rotten eggies, as it were.
Yeah, our golden and rotten eggies, and we kind of we had a couple of comments saying like, hey, where's your golden and rotten eggy awards this year? We really like doing those, but a lot of guys didn't have a lot of time to play many games this year, and so it would have been weird.
Would have been a little bit.
Yeah, so that's that. How do you want to start this? Do you want to talk about what games you picked, or should I say like what I picked first?
Dealer's choice. It's your show.
Why don't I say what I picked first?
Sure.
Because I have two. Why don't I do one, and then you can do yours, and then I'll do my other one. Unless
Love it.
do you have two as well? Or
I got two. That sounds good to me. Start with your first.
All right, I'm gonna throw a curveball out here because it wasn't until recently that I remembered that this game came out in 2013. But I'm giving Tomb Raider one. Tomb Raider is definitely one of my favorite games this year.
Yeah, back in the limelight now that they've announced the definitive version of PS4 and Xbox.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because Square was basically kind of crying over it and Sleeping Dogs, saying that they were failures when they were both really awesome games. But Tomb Raider, I think, I'm not saying was underrated because it got great scores.
Oh yeah.
But when I think back over the year about the games that I enjoyed playing the most, I think Tomb Raider was up there. I'm a sucker for great single player games, and even thinking about it when I was like having conversations with Steve and Phil on former episodes of Game Club, how semi-Metroidvania the game is as well. I had a really great time playing that game, you know? Did you play it at all?
Oh yeah, I did. Didn't beat it yet. It's on my list of incomplete, but still need to finish games. But oh yeah, had a lot of fun.
I think I finished that 3 times.
3 times already?
Yeah, I really do. I think I finished it like once originally for the review, and then when I was done with the review, I think there was like a lull in the release schedule because it came out early. So I went back and finished it on like mega hardcore mode, and then again over I think the summer during a slow part, I finished it again on hardcore mode again.
All the games you didn't play this year, and yet you found time to do Tomb Raider.
I know. It's funny because we were just talking about before the show, like how we don't have enough time to play all the games that we wanted to.
Ain't that the truth?
But the reality is though, dude, it's like, you know, a lot of people think like, oh, you review games, it must be awesome. I'm not saying like reviewing games is not awesome, because you know what, it is. It's amazing reviewing games, but so many times in the year you go right from one game to the next to the next to the next that you don't get the time to really savor the one that you're playing.
No, it's an entirely different play style. You're not playing for amusement. It's often you're half a game tester, and then you're half, I just need to get this done as soon as possible because I'm on a deadline.
I would say it's probably like thirds. Like it's 1/3 game tester, 1/3 analytic because I need to get this done as soon as possible, and then still 1/3 I'm enjoying this.
Well, it depends on the game, yeah.
That too, or I'm really hating it. But you're playing it as a player, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, you have to fit that in there somewhere
mind.
Between the analytical and the and
the
testing.
Yeah, and I think that's also why I'm giving this a game my golden eggie, if we're even calling it that, because I played it that many times. Like the game begged to be played that many times for me, and I can't think of too many other games that actually did that. Although maybe The Sims, but I'm kind of embarrassed to admit how much time I spent playing The Sims.
Oh, anyone that's stuck with us long enough knows your love of The Sims.
I really do.
I remember when Sims 3 came out. Oh man, we lost you just off the map.
Yeah, that was like right when we. I think that was right when we first launched the site. Was when
a little bit after. Yeah, give it a couple months. But yeah, you were gone. I've lost friends to World of Warcraft in less time. I lost you to The Sims. It was ridiculous.
I didn't think that when Sims 3 came out. I didn't think I was gonna like it because I hated Sims 1. Like, well, let me rephrase that. I played Sims 1 and I found Sims 1 to be so depressing that like my life was better than my sim person's life, and it's supposed to be the opposite. Like you're supposed to be living vicariously through this little digital guy, but when I was playing Sims 1, my guy would be like jobless, his sink would be leaking, his toilet would be backing up, and he wouldn't have the money to pay for a bed, so he'd be like crying to sleep on the floor at night. But
only you, Randy.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first then?
Uh-huh.
Alright, I am gonna go the game snob route again, and I'm gonna pick the Stanley Parable.
I haven't played it.
It is absolutely, utterly fantastic. It's the game that proves all the game snobs right. Everything we've been saying about the possibilities of messing with the very idea of game narrative, that's all in the Stanley Parable. It's the basic, I guess you can call it an adventure game, even though there's no puzzle solving, no inventory, nothing like that. It's just an exploration of linear and non-linear game narratives and how much freedom you actually have as a player character in a world set and designed very specifically by a video game designer. So I mean, that's
awesome.
You haven't played it, but you're familiar with it. You know And then Stanley came to a set of two doors, one on his left, one on his right. He entered the door on his left. So like naturally, like every single gamer worth their salt that's been playing for more than a few weeks will go to the door on the right just to see how much of it messes with you. And most of the first playthrough through Stanley Parable is you amazed just how many things they've thought of, because every single branching path that you can take, the narrator has about 15 seconds of humorous dialogue to go. Like you go on the door on the right, it's like, this is not the door, this is not the path you need to take, and Stanley knew that. However, he thought, let's go over to the lounge and stay there. And then you stand in the lounge, and if you stay there for long enough, he says, Stanley stayed in the lounge for quite a long bit of time. This room meant something to Stanley, he wasn't entirely sure what. And there was just little bits and pieces of this wry British humor that you can dig up through pretty much any action you can conceive of. And
that's awesome.
There's just so many different endings to it. You can technically beat the game if you follow instructions in 5 minutes. But you'll just go through and find branching paths or new ways, and it's kind of like I liken it to Portal not just because it's a game where it's just you and a narrator and the narrator is making fun of you, but just because you discover these layers of a rather innocuous seeming building. The more these endings that you discover, or the more branching paths you take, find weird and esoteric and completely fourth wall demolishing endings and ideas, and it goes from fun to fascinating, and it kind of just splits out in between.
I think 1,000 people. I shouldn't. 1,000 people. That's like nothing. I'm sure tens of thousands of people probably own the game right now and might never touch it because of the Steam sales this holiday season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of those that snuck in, even though it wasn't a 60% off. People picked it up. Like, heartily,
it was still within that biting range.
It's one of those games that, if you take a look back when it launched, it didn't affect people just playing it. It affected the way they spoke on it. because all the game reviewers and everything like that, they were mimicking the narrator's voice, or they even mimicked the format. Like, they would mess up their own video reviews and try to duplicate or mimic the format of Stanley Parable, just because it just hits you with an overall design of complete weirdness.
Awesome. Should we bat it back to me just to kind of keep the ball rolling here?
Keep it going.
I'm going with for my second and last pick. I'm gonna go Splinter Cell Blacklist.
I loved watching you play this, and well, when Mikey played it, just watching anyone play it's fascinating.
I think that Splinter Cell Blacklist was a much better game than a lot of people gave it credit for. It got good reviews. I think that its biggest problem, and I don't even want to call this a problem, is because a lot of its fans were like, oh, well, Michael Ironsides wasn't in it, and it's like, okay, one, I'm not playing stealth games because of a voice actor, and then two, they're like, oh, well, Sam doesn't really have the same personality as he did in the past. True, different actor, not playing a stealth game because of the actor, you know? Like, if I was playing as the Joker, and it was a stealth game that played just like Splinter Cell Blacklist, I would play Splinter Cell Blacklist still, you know?
That sounds like a pretty good idea right there.
You know what? I think a Joker game would be pretty badass, and considering how, anyway, let's not go down that path. But Blacklist. I think Blacklist did it right, man. I mean, I think it has a killer single player campaign. I think stealth purists will love it if they just get off of their high horses and try it, and then if they are stealth purists, then they need to not even be babies about it, and they need to set it at the hardest setting, because that's why we love stealth games in the first place. It's like the crazy challenge that kind of comes with them. So get over yourself. It's it's a different actor, and he's gonna have a different personality. Just put it on the hardest settings and play it. You're probably gonna like it. The co-op on it is really, really good, and in fact, there's probably a solid 4 hours worth of co-op on it.
Pretty impressive.
And then when you're done with that, it has an amazing multiplayer as well. So I mean, here's like a full package game where you didn't have to like buy any stupid add-ons for it. It had multiplayer and single player perfect or near perfect right out of the box. And I mean, if that's not praise enough for a video game this year, then I don't know what is.
You said previously you're a big single player guy, but when Splinter Cell comes out, you were on the multiplayer and the co-op just constantly.
Oh yeah, because even the co-op still feels like it has like that single player-ish feel, because you're with somebody, but in most circumstances you're alone, because you kind of divide and conquer and then meet up and then move on. Yeah, and I really love that, man. I love that crap. And then it's always kind of fun to see how people what loadout they bring into a playing field, and you'll see like these guys who like go in with absolutely nothing but the best gear on all the time, and I'll try to go in with like the crappiest stuff to kind of increase my own challenge.
You are a man that likes to make it harder on yourself. I will give you that.
With certain games, I am. So that would be my second pick, would be Splinter Cell Blacklist. Again, I think a lot of gamers were way too harsh on it. I think that I really, truly, truly feel this is the best one since Splinter Cell.
Chaos Theory?
Not Double Agent. Chaos Theory.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think Ubisoft this year really hit us with two games that no one expected to be as good as they were, and unlike Assassin's Creed 4, Blacklist did not get the attention that it deserved. That's the biggest thing when I'm talking with everybody when we're looking back at the year. The one thing everyone remembers about Blacklist is that it wasn't as successful as its mechanics should have made it. So
right.
That was a solid game.
Yeah.
And it just flew under the radar.
Ubisoft's fourth quarter should have just been a
killer. It should have been explosions, yeah.
Because they had Rayman, that, and Assassin's Creed 4. I do not doubt or do not blame them for pushing Division back a year. Like, yeah, take a year. Go polish that thing, because you just released 3 killer games in a quarter, which I can't remember another company that's really done that before.
Yeah, even during Nintendo sweeps, they usually split it between quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? What's your second pick?
My second pick, I'm still sticking with PC and a little bit snobby. Not too much snobby. This is very much still a gamer's game. It's Papers, Please. Now, you said you didn't play it, but you're more familiar with this than you are Stanley Parable, right?
Yeah, Papers, Please. What's funny is I seeing the previews and stuff for that one was like, oh, I really need to play that one. And I still really want to play Papers, Please. That's high on my list of games I want to play.
this is my recommendation to you and anyone else that picked it up, because this is another game that people will have in Steam just lodged in there from a sale one time this year. Pick it up and play it. Just because
you know what, I had made a mention on Twitter the other day saying like I want to start off my reviews because I haven't done a review in like 2 weeks now. I want to start it 2014 off with a good review. Maybe I'll do one of those two games because I think I have them both. Maybe I'll do one of those two.
Or just do a big review of both. They're both relatively quick.
Okay. Well,
maybe just put an idea that there, a little nugget. Yeah. But Pavers Please. What I love so much about it is that it hits at the core of a design philosophy I've had and loved for quite some time, which is that games don't necessarily need to be just fun. And I'm saying that, you kind of shirk back a little bit saying, is this game going to be fun? It's very much engaging and fun, and you're going to enjoy it. But it's not just adrenaline pumping. It's not just self-gratification trophies popping up every minute, which way or another. It's a stressful game. It's a game where you're being challenged constantly. Now, for those of you that don't know, it's set in this fictionalized communist country in the 80s, and you are a passport inspector at the border of this country called Erstoika. I mispronounced that all to hell, I guarantee it, I have no doubt. But you have to inspect everyone coming through the border, and as the game progresses, you'll have more and more data and more papers to check against, wanted posters, or this is the right type of passport they need to have, and you only have so much time during the day. You let someone in that's not supposed to be there, they could walk back and not do anything, they could blow up the embassy. So it's a very, very hectic minute-to-minute experience, and the way they engage you is at the end of every day, average player will get between 6 to 8 people in a day. You get money per each player, and a little menu will pop up at the end and say, this is how much money you made, this is whether or not you could afford heat for your family back home, and this is whether you could afford to feed them, and all that, and that it's just a menu screen. You don't get to see them, there's no character models, there's nothing like that, but it still very much gives you that motivation and that drive to just keep playing. It's one of those games where hours will just disappear you will not recognize the time at all.
Like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Very much so, although it's a different set of mental muscles, but very much
it's not nearly as, whimsical.
No, this is not a quote-unquote happy. But it is very much a game that was a blast.
Speaking of unhappy games, let's talk about our rotten games of the year. The games that, for lack of a better word, the ones that we want to call out for how crappy they were, or games that, I don't know, whatever game you want to talk about because it pissed you off.
All right, well, why don't I start this one here, because this is going to be one that I don't know if a lot of people are going to agree with me on. I want to hear what your reaction is to this, because my first game that just kind of pissed me off, and the more I think about it in hindsight, the more I dislike it, is BioShock Infinite.
Really? I'm the exact opposite.
Really? So time is just healing it up for you, making it look better.
Time has made it a little bit better for me, yeah.
I mean, from narrative perspective, it's Ken Levine mucking about with quantum mechanics. I mean, how could you not love that? The guy has a brain the size of Gibraltar, and here he is messing with the fourth dimension in ways that you're never going to see anyone else do. So, on a narrative level, I enjoy it. You still have those grandiose plot holes, and overall, the revolution kind of aspect, I think they didn't flesh out one side as much as they could another, but overall, I got no narrative problems with the game. My problems stem from the game aspect, especially coming from BioShock, and even BioShock 2. You have this very varied approach to pop and shoot, open levels. It's not Call of Duty, and it feels very much its own beast, especially with mixing and creating your own kind of combination of plasmids or vigors in this case. Here, not as many vigors. Even though the levels were open, they still lend themselves to...
Yeah, not as many vigors, and I think you end up getting all of them, regardless, don't you? Don't they?
Pretty much, You don't have any secrets, but the level design, still very open environments, but they still lend themselves to pop and shoot. Especially with the nature of the spawn points and everything like that. It just... It didn't feel as vibrant of a gameplay flow. And as much as I love Elizabeth, I don't think the touted relationship with her came through as much, mechanically speaking. Sure, she'll toss you a healing potion here and then, but it just felt lacking. especially since you're going through things. It opens up very well. The opening to that game, where you're going through the fair and you're seeing the handyman for the first time, very, very great. I loved it. I'm engaged. After a while, the streets start to empty, and you're just slogging through what must be a mythical city in the sky that's comprised half of policemen. There are so many, even on the lesser difficulty, you're just running through, and they're just continually just coming at you in a throng, and it just loses a little bit of that charm, a little bit of magic. It felt gilded. That's the word I use when looking back at BioShock Infinite. It just feels gilded to me. I promise.
I'm kind of the opposite, man. I'm not saying that you are a victim to this because but I'm saying that a lot of people out here are victim to what I'm about to describe here. I think it has become fashionably cool to hate BioShock Infinite. Whereas like you'll find this discussion on forum boards where it'll be like, you know what, now that 2 months has gone by and the fervor of like the good reviews about this game have gone down, I'm going to come forward and say that I always fucking hated this game, and then everybody's like, yeah, I always hated this game too. And it's like, well, where were you guys 2 months ago when the game came out? You could have spoken up then. It's not like there was any punishment against you if you're to speak against the grain, in any kind of internet forum setting. Aside from being, possibly thumbed down, the dreaded negative karma.
Oh dear.
But no, I'm kind of the complete opposite. I think that the more I think about the game, the more I really like it. And yeah, the game does, have some issues with the pop and shoot kind of mechanic with it. But that's kind of a problem with just shooters in general.
Well, yeah, but looking back at the first couple BioShocks, there was a way where they were able to keep mobility to the gunfights, especially there was no comparable experience to taking down a Big Daddy in BioShock Infinite.
No, there wasn't, but at the same time, in BioShock 1 and 2, there was also no dying. I think they were kind of damned if they did and damned if they didn't in this one. Like with the whole,
I suppose.
Revita chambers in the first one, it was like, why even shoot your gun? You could just go around clubbing everybody with your wrench, and you could still kill big daddies with it. You're going to get revived. Just go right back up and keep smacking with
Elizabeth
the wrench.
Will eventually just jab you full of adrenaline, right? Same effect.
Yeah,
bit.
Basically. I mean, sort of. But I mean, I think they were in kind of a no-win, no-lose situation, which maybe they designed it to be that way. But either way, I still really enjoyed it. I still found it to be an incredibly beautiful game. I think
absolutely.
I think Gorgeous. It was really well written. I know a lot of people were like, oh, even you yourself, you were like, oh, I thought that the rebellion between these two factions wasn't fleshed out enough. Perhaps it wasn't.
Perhaps I just didn't get enough of the audio diaries. I did miss a few of them, but it felt like they ran out of time to do the Revolution story. So when the quote unquote what was the term, the rebellion, the rebels took over, they were just as bad as the Infinite status quo. And I'm like, you didn't really give us the time to establish that. You're just saying that it's going to be shit regardless. That seems to be their overall thesis in terms of revolutionary rebellions. And
I think it was a tertiary plot that a lot of people. I think it was a tertiary plot that got more screen time than they were expecting it to, and I think a lot of people paid more attention to it than they expected to.
I suppose.
Because I didn't really mind it that much because I was more focused on like the main plot line and and not to spoil it for anybody, but to like find out who you are and your relationship with Elizabeth, and that was, for me that was just like holy crap, and kind of superseded all the minor stuff that kind of came with it.
Oh yeah, that narrative will, in BioShock fashion, blow your freaking mind, especially if you're coming in completely blank, which I think is harder to do the more time you're going to give it. So if you haven't played Infinite, I would still recommend pick it up. I'm just saying. I mean,
especially now if you're getting it on PC, you can probably get it for crazy cheap.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just saying from my personal history, where I'm coming from with the series and with shooters in general and all that stuff. Personal disappointment.
I think that it was better than BioShock 2. Not as good as BioShock 1.
I would kind of agree with that.
Still a good shooter for the year.
Yeah, they did not make you, protect a little sister in tower defense segments, so I will give them
that. Right. Well, let's change gears.
Yeah, what's your first...
Because I want to talk about my negative one.
Go ahead.
Killzone.
Oh, Shadow.
What a terrible game. That was so bad. And this is one of those games where like I'm playing it and as I think I was playing it for the charity marathon. Like
you booted up and I was right there talking you through it, holding your hands.
Because it was like I just picked up the PlayStation 4. I was all psyched about it. I had played AC4 on the PlayStation 4, and I'm like, yeah, what else can I play on this system? And look, Shadowfall. Tons of people are enjoying this game. I'm gonna test it out too. I found that to be one of the most frustrating experiences of my shootery lifetime. I think it is a terrible, terrible shooter. I think that it's crappy guns, crappy controls, crappy mechanics, crap story, and and then there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, well, if you played the single-player version of the game, why did you even play the single-player version of the game? Shooters are for multiplayer experiences. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think that shooters can be both and should be both a single player and a multiplayer experience.
Oh, absolutely. And the
good games should be able to handle both.
And the thing is, if the designers, I know you have to include both, but really in this day and age, a shooter can get away with, especially a shooter with high traction like your Killzones and your Resistances or your Gears of War. They can get away going multiplayer. If they wanted to just give away a multiplayer suite, they could. They could manage it. I also think that if you're going to do a multiplayer
only experience, then don't charge $60 for it. Charge $40 for it. You know?
I suppose. I mean, it'll depend on who's doing it, but yeah.
It depends on who's doing it, who's like how big of a budget they're dumping into it, et cetera, et cetera.
And how much of a multiplayer arena you're doing. You don't necessarily want to charge the 3v3 people the same for a 64 player match.
Right. I think that Killzone did one thing right. It was pretty. You know.
Oh, and that game was gorgeous.
But I mean, God, the story was just tripe. I mean, I was predicting crap happening 5 minutes before it would happen on screen while I was playing it. It was like every science fiction. I don't know what word am I looking for here? Like
archetype.
Archetype. I was gonna say like a Mad Lib of science fiction games, but not nearly as funny.
That was. The story was another personal disappointment, if I may claim sole ownership of that franchise for a moment. But just because with the Helgen and the Helgash, you have a very empathetic antagonist, and it just feels they did nothing with it. And they brought up this Berlin Wall allegory, a very, very entrenched, powerful metaphor that they did absolutely nothing with.
Like zero with it.
I mean, it was there, and they kind of checked a few boxes, but yeah, story-wise, predictable, really laughably.
You're the orphan that saves the world, or humanity, or Helganity, or whatever the hell side you were.
And I never say spoiler warning, but hey, your commanding officer is not the beacon of morality that you thought he would be. Oh my God, who saw that coming? It was pretty. Yeah. So that was those skyboxes were gorgeous, but what I didn't like on the single player were just all of the loading gates that it had. Throughout each chapter, you would just sit there and you'd have to send the Aldroid, and I liked the Aldroid. I thought it was neat, especially if you were able to fiddle with it, get yourself a nice balance. It was a nice little mechanic. It's the best use of the PS4 touchscreen that there is, or the touch panel of the controller. But you would send it off, and you would see, oh, there's another hacking panel. I'm going to have to wait half a minute to go through this door, and oh, look, 40 minutes later, I have to do it again, and then 20 minutes later, I have to do it again.
Or my favorite is, hey, I'm shooting for half an hour with this super real, super futuristic pulse rifle with grenade launcher attachments and everything like that. And it's going to take 12 rounds to take this guy down, maybe 20. But if I get up to him and I threaten him with my plastic butter knife that I stole from like the cafeteria, he's dead.
The overpowering melee. Thank you, Halo 2. But yeah, I mean, one good thing watching you die constantly, other than the Schadenfreude, if you will, is just seeing... They put a lot of effort into the mocks, the kind of what the Helgen would do after they killed you. And like at one point, one of the soldiers was taking a cell phone picture of your dead corpse.
One was neat.
That was cute.
That one was neat.
So like I know there was effort put into it, but it was just placed in the wrong direction because most of the earlier maps you can tell, oh, I'm in a multiplayer arena that they've repurposed for single player. Multiplayer is great. I play the multiplayer. I like the multiplayer. It's a solid multiplayer suite. But in the single player, they just dragged down in so many different ways, and it's just it's bad because you can see the little bits that would have made it so much better, and it wouldn't have been a drastic development cycle destroying time waste if they tried to do it.
I think what really kind of drove me like over the edge. Like I could have probably been forgiving of some of the other things, not merciful, but forgiving of the other things. But I think what the biggest issue for me was just a terrible checkpoint system on there. And then, like you were saying with the kill animations, when you would die, it would take forever sometimes for these Helgans to like do their things, and it's like, come on, I'm playing a game here. I'm pushing the button. I should be able to skip you and get back to my game because that's what I'm sitting here doing. No, I don't want to watch a digital version of some 14-year-old jerk, teabagging me.
I don't think they went that far.
Sorry to any 14-year-old fans. It's just kind of generalizing here, but
yeah, overall, I mean, I still like the game. I gave it an average review when I scored it, just overall, just because I did love the multiplayer that much. Because
all right.
It is a solid suite of multiplayer. I will give it that. And there are elements to the single player that I enjoyed, like the Aldroid. But oh man.
Okay, but decidedly average. It's an average game.
Overall, it is a decidedly average game for a single player campaign. I've played Call of Duty single player campaigns that were better than that, and that's not meant as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll come right out and say that there's been some Call of Duty campaigns that I think were phenomenal. Call of Duty 1, 2, and 4.
Oh yeah,
had great campaigns.
Even the modern ones, Modern Warfare, the original, had some elements to it I liked. Black Ops 2 was surprisingly decent, but
yeah,
you get to Killzone Shadow, and it's just man, the
single player on this was.
This was your first Killzone, right? You had never played one before.
No, I've played all of them. I think
you've played all of them. Okay, so you're coming from.
I've just never been like a big Killzone fan. Like, I've played them all.
Yeah, that they could have been better than this. They've come. They've come from better lineage. Yeah.
Absolutely, and the amount of money that they throw into these things, I think that's probably the bigger disappointing thing. It's like knowing how much money and how big of a team and how talented your team is in putting something together like this. It should be better. You should be worrying about you should be polishing other things than those blue blooms that you're putting on screen.
Ultimately, what the single player felt like for me is a very pretty thing to stick up in the window of a GameStop and have someone play for a few minutes just to show you how gorgeous they can get.
Yeah. Oh, look, this is what the PlayStation 4 is going to do. And I think that's kind of insulting to what the PlayStation 4 is, going to be able to do, or even just the next generation in general is going to do. I hate these front-end fluffware that sometimes come with...
I like that. Front-end fluffware.
It really is, because it's different than shovelware, like what you would get with a PC. It's fluffware. It's like this... Yeah. It's this pretty gaming stuff that's all visuals and no substance.
Absolutely.
I think it happens with every console generation. That always happens towards the beginning.
But if I may, I would like a footnote here, because there was another game, we're not going to talk about it at length here, but previous generation that really screwed with my expectations, and really want to call it out, Beyond Two Souls. Play that.
Oh, I haven't... that was another one I didn't get a chance to try.
Now, anyone that's spoken to me for at length knows I come from a place of deep love of at least Indigo Prophecy. Heavy Rain, I can't fight. I can't be in its ring for as long as I used to. Every year that goes by, I'm seeing the seams a little bit more. But Beyond hurt, because when I first played it at E3, even then I could tell, oh dear, there is something seriously wrong. Because apparently when your team can't do 3D motion or 3D walking very well, because that's one thing Heavy Rain you piloted, they did better in Beyond Two Souls, but you shouldn't be trying to make an action shooter. They did the worst possible demo at E3, which was, hey, we're going to make Ellen Page into Solid Snake in Somalia. I'm like, no, that didn't need to do it. Fire moments, he can do wonderful things, Cage. And I'm saying Cage because there's dozens of people that work on a video game, but they're all marching to David's tune. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And that's a fault, because the guy could do these great moments, but when you have to string them together into a game that's a cohesive narrative for over 2 hours, the guy just goes to very odd places to make it all. And Beyond was the strongest example. Unfortunately, unless they bring up something really good with their next one, Quantic Dream seems to be on a downward decline. And
that stinks.
And that's really sad, because while they're putting out something like Beyond Two Souls, they'll put out something like Kara. I don't know if it was just a short little tech demo.
Yeah, where that was kind of like
the robot on the assembly. That was amazing. That was absolutely stellar. That's like something I would put up and send to the Academy, saying, "Hey, best animated short."
Yeah.
Put that stuff out there.
Yeah, that was like it was fun to watch, but also really creepy too.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
well done.
And then you could see little bits of that. You get little pieces of Kara with Jodie Holmes, Ellen Page's character. The performance capture is wonderful. They're all doing wonderful things, but it's just when the player has to engage, and when the designers feel they have to they're being forced to make the player a role in this certain scene. That's when it all just kind of a little bit at the edges. So yeah, I couldn't let this go without wagging my finger at David Cage for a second.
Real quick, I'm going to toss out my 2 anticipated of 2014.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Witcher 3, Watch Dogs.
Okay.
Witcher 3, without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Witcher 3 is probably going to steal my life away.
Without a doubt.
What about you?
You took Witcher 3 away from me, so... I mean, that's...
Well, you got to see Witcher 3 at E3 as well, which I'm so surprised that they have not taken the footage that they showed the press at E3 to the world yet.
Yeah. I don't know why either. I mean, Thief's coming out next year. I'm envisioning a very similar thing to what happened at Blacklist. All of the old fans coming out and bitching at the tiniest little thing, and this one's it's a lot harder because Thief has a much longer and much more, I would say, pretentious clientele in the past.
Yeah,
this is a PC master race that will be descending.
Stealth fans sometimes almost like claim ownership over the Thief franchise. I'm not going to be too excited about Thief because I was not that impressed by what I saw at E3. It was okay, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be like, that's probably going to be a problem. Yeah, like the QuickTime punchy situations. But I think somebody didn't they just recently say that they got rid of those? I don't know.
I can't speak to that. But, alright, most anticipated. Persona 5 may come out next year. I am hesitant to declare it so I will put it there as a tentative one.
Maybe.
Yeah. I am excited for whenever a new Persona game comes out, even if it's a remastering on a handheld. I got my Vita solely for Persona 4 Golden, so yeah, Persona 5, I'm there. If they put it on PS4, I will buy a PS4 or an Xbox One. Maybe not an Xbox One, we'll see. But one that I'm guaranteed that's going to come out, and I'm sticking with it, even though I'm not as sure as I was when it first was announced. South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Oh, really?
I love the guys at Obsidian. When they hit the nail on the head, they really do, because there are elements in New Vegas that I thought were better than in Fallout 3, which I think
overall New Vegas is a better game than Fallout 3.
I'm not sure overall, but yeah, I mean it was a solid game. So I'm hopeful for South Park because what I've seen, loving it so far, and I just like the idea so freaking much, and I want it to work, which is why it's my most anticipated.
Cool. I think those are good picks. I think we've set our piece.
I think we have.
We might have rambled a little bit, but that's okay. I haven't done a longer Elder Speak in a little while, so this is our nature. Change of pace. Everybody, please follow us on Facebook, on Twitter as well. You will get to see exactly what we're all kind of working on as it's going along. I am trying my ass off to finish off this next episode of 25 games. I'm not going to put out a promise date, but at least I'm chucking up some drawings.
Yeah, it's looking good. I loved how you had to verbalize the sound of a dial-up modem. That brought back some uncomfortable memories, just hearing that sound again.
I really love that sound, and I had asked my wife if I should put it up as my ringtone on my phone.
Ooh, no! After a while,
I don't get it.
After a while, that's gonna kill you. It's gonna.
I know, but now I'm boiling it down to either that or the Windows 95 startup theme. But anyway, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and of course, follow us on Twitch, where we're picking up on the amount of streaming that we're doing. And again, I'm trying to do daily videos this year, so of course, subscribe here, and I will be back tomorrow. It might not be an Elder Speak, it might be an interview. I still have a couple of videos that I need to put together yet from MagFest. Ooh. And then who knows? Maybe I'll actually crack open Papers, Please, and take a hack at that.
Hell yeah, do so, man.
Yeah,
you will not be disappointed.
Or I hope I don't get it. I hope I don't get it re-addicted to Lords of Shadow, because I really liked the original Lords of Shadow. I could go off on a tangent about this game, but yeah, that's it. Gavin, thanks for hopping on tonight, bud.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
All right, see everybody tomorrow.
Later.